24th of December, 60th parallel in Sweden. A beautiful early winter, well, not quite officially winter yet, but it's starting to look like that for sure. Winter morning in Pressboll, 2 acre gård, 2 Oaks Farm. Just got the sheep into a new area with a lot of grass. And that statement is the main one I really want to make because it's so rare, at least in our direct surroundings. I know of no one who is still able to feed sheep or cows or horses or goats on basically fresh green grass. Quite a few of the farmers around here who keep animals have been giving them hay exclusively or sometimes partially, but very often exclusively for 1, 2 or 3 months already. And they will have to do that well into May or even June, depending on circumstances. This is one of many great advantages of holistically planned grazing, because this is not the only bit that I've got for 11 sheep. I bought a ram yesterday, that's that fellow over there, who's settling in just fine. So 11 animals. They have this whole grazing area. You can see the perimeter fence running there, and then all the way to the forest line. This is their shelter in the very center of the 2 hectares, and then it really follows quite closely the forest edge. So that is, well, just under 2 hectares. And then there is a second grazing area behind, well, between the red house, and you see here the beginnings of another shelter, something that will look quite a bit nicer when it's finished than this hastily put together business. So about 2.5 hectares total of grass. And I think, if I have to keep it a bit short, that the main reason why I still have grass for my animals, which according to the calculations should last them at least until late February, so unless there are any really wild weather circumstances where they can't find the grass underneath the snow anymore, and these animals are all Swedish breeds and they can dig through snow for the grass that's underneath it. If nothing really goes wrong with like partial defrost and then refrost and that a few times, so that digging becomes really hard, then they should be fine until late February at least. And I think I've made my calculations on the conservative side, so I hope it can last a bit longer. And the really brilliant thing is that I don't have to worry too much about what happens when I run out of grass, because I have, from a neighbor who stopped keeping cows, I have quite a collection of hay available for free from him. So if I need it, I am in absolutely no trouble. I can feed them as much hay as I can possibly carry. So how does this work then? Why is there grass in these 2.5 hectares? It's because I have grazed the animals in this area over spring and summer. But by the, well, mid to late August, I think it was mid-August, I would have to look in my planning schedule, I pulled them out and instead put them on the how to put that? So of 4 hectares of grassland, 2.5 hectares is permanently fenced in by now. It was a long project building the perimeter fences, but it means I still have about 1.5 hectares of grassland outside those fence areas. And that's where I focus them from mid or late August until 3 days ago, I think. Yeah, 3 days ago they went in here into their winter area. And that the fact that the sheep had not been in this place since late or mid-August means that the grass could recover from their grazing. And of course, I have to say that the 2.5 hectares is divided into 40 paddocks, and on average they stayed 3 days in one of those, 5 days in each paddock, and then moved on. So what we're looking at now, where the sheep are now, that was actually grazed last in May. No, I said that wrong, in early June. And the grass you see here is the result of the regrowth since then. Not bad, but I can say I hoped for a bit higher grass. Then again, since this was grazed so early in the season, almost all the plants managed to go to seed, and certainly the annuals started dying back then, of course, and the perennials may have started to work more on their roots than above ground growth, and we haven't used holistically grazing for more than 1.5 years yet, so still some improvement expected in the coming years for sure. And yeah, it's a bit tricky to see with the frost now. So that was early June. By the time we get here, this is that's paddock 1 that they're in now, and then there's 8 in this quarter, and this triangle here is number 8, so that would have been more than a month later. There is quite a difference in what the grass looks like. This was actually still at the tail end of flowering stage by the time the frost hit. And then as we go into quarter 2 here, and then over there we have quarter 3 and 4, it's all in very different stages of recovery. At any rate, calculations make out that it should be enough until late February at least. Meaning that the sheep will have not quite fresh green grass anymore, but it should be, if the snow does what it should do, so fall well within a few days probably, and then hopefully it will stay until just before the growing season starts again. It should be well preserved, that grass underneath the snow. It should remain green. If like last year it will thaw and refreeze and thaw and refreeze quite often, then you will lose quite a lot of nutrition from the grass, and a lot of what is green now will turn brown and start, if not rotting, just really losing nutrition. That would be a shame. And with weather patterns as they have been and as they are developing, we have no guarantees, but even so, the calculations have been made conservatively. Late February at the earliest for starting to feed hay seriously. And who knows, maybe it won't even be necessary. That would be really, really brilliant. So that saves a lot of costs in case I would have to buy the hay, or it saves a lot of work if I would have to make my own, which I did a bit, but never enough to have to, if I would have to feed them for a few months, not even close to enough. So that would have been a lot more work. And it's full of benefits here. The sheep have way better, healthier food. It keeps them busy compared to the animals that I already see in the fields around us elsewhere, where they get hay in one spot, so they get big mouthfuls at feeding time, are full quite quickly, and then really don't have a lot to do anymore and just stand around, maybe play a little bit sometimes, maybe fight a little bit sometimes. But there's a lot of standing still, doing nothing, and looking very frustrated and bored. Whereas these animals do what they have evolved to do. They're looking for food. That keeps them busy That keeps them happy and they can interact normally. And especially with the ram just arriving, there will be some added actions. Life for them will be pretty good, and they can definitely handle the cold. With this coat, which is only a light winter coat so far, it will grow a lot longer over winter. They are well protected for what we can expect, like -20 to -30 in extreme cases. That used to be quite normal, not anymore, but they can handle it. Holistically Planned Grazing. Look it up.